All right, you sons of bitches. Here we are. It's a sleepy, sassy Sunday afternoon. And we're about to record another episode of the 6 Inch Kings podcast. I've got I am here with me.
Hello.
I've got me over here. I'm behind Liz. And then we've also got Liz here. Liz is a new addition to the podcast, and she's going to be joining us every week for the next 6 months.
That's not true, but it's okay.
Okay. We'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway, guys, we're going to waste no time and get right into business
Oh,
here.
we're getting into the thick of it today, guys. Boy, do we have something in store for y'all. Liz, tell us everything and everything. Anything and everything. Start from the beginning.
Those are two different things. Would you like anything and everything or
Everything and anything. Well, I actually want everything and anything now.
Okay. Sure.
But I want you to start in chronological order, and I want you to start from the beginning.
My whole life story.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's enough time for that.
No, not at all. This is a 6-minute podcast.
Dude, it should be 6 minutes.
6
God, that
minutes.
would make this so much better.
1 minute per inch. And that
I mean, the math checks out, dude. That's about how
Well,
we're
the
living.
6 minute is also
and that's
how
how you
long
create
it's usually.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's what I'm saying.
a very sustaining sex life.
Yes.
Is
Mhm.
that ratio.
6 minutes is all
Keep
you
it
need.
healthy.
Yes.
If you can't get everything you need done in 6 minutes,
Dude, let me tell you this. 6 minutes, 6 times a day.
you're wasting your time, dude.
It's true.
Anyways, Liz, hi.
As the female at the table, I'm going to go ahead and advocate for potentially looking into some different options.
Are you thinking
Potentially, you're thinking like
12 minutes 3 times a day? I mean, that's getting closer.
It's up to you. That is closer, but I'm just gonna.
I think 12 minutes is too much.
Okay.
It's way too much.
All right.
18 minutes, 1.5 times a day.
I'm not on the other side of either of the contract
Okay.
negotiations here. You'll
Okay.
have to work that out
Yeah.
with your respective partners.
Well, it's
Well,
just
we
a choice
want
we
some-
make.
We just want some insight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
36 minutes once. Take it or leave it.
How much time? Well, it depends
Once
on work
ever.
schedules.
Once a
That's
month,
it.
dude.
You're all right for a lifetime. 36 minutes magic
Yeah.
number. You're good for life. and that's
Honestly.
all. So you peaked at 16.
It's a long lifetime.
And that's in the
Okay.
Bible.
Yeah. First chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, hello, Liz. Thank you so much
Hey, I am.
for coming onto our podcast. Liz knows me, but she doesn't know Sean.
I don't. This is my first
No,
time meeting
yeah.
Sean,
This is-
actually.
Actually, their first conversation ever.
It sure is.
We said hello beforehand, but
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
historic.
I was in
Yeah.
my underwear when that happened, so it doesn't count.
I did realize that.
Yeah.
I feel like that
Hey,
means
Liz,
we've
eyes up here, please.
Yeah, we've bonded.
more than met. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's, I think, like jumping 6 categorical relationships.
I think
steps
so.
There. So, me and Sean are best friends now.
Mhm.
Okay.
And,
fair. I've been replaced, and I get it.
well, what did we say? 10 years? The 10 years it had to be more
Has it
than
been
that.
10 years? No, it's been less than that.
10 years.
No, because it was 2012 when we were freshmen in high school, right? Like that was 2011, 2012.
No, but we met each other. I mean, we technically met 7th grade.
Whoa.
Technically.
7th grade, y'all knew each other? Or we're in the same building even?
Yeah. Summer Creek.
Yeah, right.
So 12 years.
Yeah.
Holy
That's
frickin'
more
smokes.
than 10. So anyway, all of that to say, Sean,
Mhm.
our friendship is now equivalent to the 12 years that.
Or
Okay, great.
I disappear for 12 years. Y'all have a 12-year relationship, and then I come back
Mm-hmm.
and I replace him. And you just go on these 12-year cycles
Yeah.
between me and Sean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if your math is correct because after that, y'all would be even and then we would have what we
Mm.
need.
Yeah, but then you have to do another 12 years with me. And then once you do another 12 years with me, you have to do another. And it's just going to go on
What
like
did you
that.
learn in college?
1 or 2 things, but nothing about numbers.
Okay.
All about the human
That's all I
body.
need to know. We'll let you call the shots. I am Sean. We'll go with it.
Yeah, we're just going to go with the flow, dude.
Yeah.
And then
All
we'll
we
see.
do is
As
go
we
with the
do.
flow.
We'll see how that goes.
But yeah,
I'll see you in 12 years.
remember when you would hang out once every 2 years?
Isn't that still what we do?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the first time in 2 years
Although-
I've heard about Liz.
Yeah.
Although we saw each other like 6 months ago.
So maybe instead of once every 2 years, it's twice every 1 year. And that can be the new ratio.
Wow.
Yeah. I come to Houston and I say we're going to hang out and then we don't.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
I
know
that with
she's
so
been
many
coming to
people.
Houston for months and hasn't been telling me?
That's
her only friend in Houston besides one other person.
I have to say that's only kind of true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I look so short over here next to Liz in this chair.
You're in a
She's
very
a
tiny
tiny-
chair. You're
Yeah.
also very far back, so
I know,
keep
I'm
having
sorry.
to-
I was
keep
trying
having
to
pull
think.
back.
Also, the camera can't see me because I'm right behind you. But I can't think of a better way to frame it, so we're
We
screwed.
should hit this angle right here.
That would be actually a lot better.
I was thinking that, but then you get this whole wall. This is not.
Yeah, this is not. You
This
don't
is
get
not
the-
it over here.
That's cool.
The vacuum cleaner wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Back
cleaning
there.
wall, dude.
Yeah.
That's a maintenance wall.
Okay.
At the very least, maybe get chairs that are all the same height.
Well,
That
we
would-
did,
Well, yeah, we did.
And
but we only got 2 of them. And then we got these were
These are work chairs.
these
did
chairs
IM
are.
count for you? When the
Yeah, well, I mean, we just both picked one because it's only us.
We initially didn't even have 4 mic. Like we were just
Yeah.
gonna be us 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then what
And
inspired
then-
the third?
Well, the 4th.
Yeah.
is 4.
Well, we ordered 2 more.
Oh, there is 4.
Yeah. We've
Um,
never had 4. No, we have had
No,
4.
well, we've never had 4 that got published. Have we?
Did the one? No, the one with Sam and Joy.
Oh,
got
that's
published.
right. Yeah,
But that's the only one where there's actually been 4.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else has been 3.
I
That's
feel
true.
like that's chaos.
It can
kind
be.
of was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of was. We
Is
didn't
that
get
why
through.
they went unpublished?
Oh yeah. All the other ones we've done with 4 have been like after a night of partying. And
Yeah.
we're
Just
hammered
absolutely
oh, it's
unintelligible.
completely.
Yeah.
And it would be really regrettable if you could tell what anybody was saying because it's all really bad.
it's
Yeah.
really just all of us yelling at each other to shut up
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because we were trying to talk.
I feel like that's friendship. That's myself and all of my friends.
Yeah.
Shut up. Let me tell you everything you need to hear right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just fighting for keeping the main line of conversation between you two.
Yeah.
You start guessing the words and then it's game over.
Damn, Liz knows us, dude.
Yeah, she really does.
Well, yeah,
Avid listener.
you've heard about Im and I.
Mhm.
We've been friends for however long. And in order to sustain that kind of friendship, you have to at
Mhm.
least kind of subscribe to the same model.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Although we've been pretty good at it.
At least sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say better than maybe some other people we used to know, right?
Say their name. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No,
Name them.
I'm just kidding.
There was an ominous pause when I said that. So
I know.
I deserved the call out there.
You set me up and I had to deliver.
It is tough though, like people change, right? And you think back to the people you used to be friends with and then realize, if you were to go back and try to be friends with them now, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way that it would work.
Sean, do you have any friends from high school or even, dare I say, middle school still?
One.
One.
Well, okay. No, I take that back. From school, yeah, 1. It's Marvin.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably Marvin.
My boy Marvin.
Wow.
Shout out. Preschool, I have.
Not to be confused with preschool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not to be confused with preschool, even though they mean the same thing. It's my buddies Hunter and Dylan are both. I've known them
correct.
since I was
Yeah,
born,
yeah.
essentially, or since I was 2 years old.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool too. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't have any friends since birth.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank goodness that.
Who's your oldest friend, Liz?
Do cousins count?
No.
No. No family.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's cheating.
I suppose that means not my brother either.
Yeah, technically. No. Your mom doesn't count either.
Krisha Patel is
Really?
probably my oldest
Chris is
friend.
also my oldest friend.
I think the first time I saw Krisha Patel was in 2nd grade.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
You met Krisha.
Did you? You know
yeah.
Krisha?
When
She came to Houston
Oh,
once. And
Krisha. I thought you were saying Christian. Okay, yeah, I did meet Krisha.
Christian Patel.
Which one was she?
she was the one that wasn't that drunk.
Okay, got it.
She came over to Houston
Fine
to
line.
see her friend from, what's her name, Menace? Do you have
Montesquieu.
you met her?
Yeah.
She lives in Houston, so she came
Yeah,
to visit.
I think she has a house.
Yes, she lives in the museum district. She's actually really well. She does really well. But she came in town, and me, her, and Montesquieu got drinks, and we came here after. It was a good time.
Yeah.
But Montesquieu did say that she threw up in my car, like a little bit, and then I checked, and there was nothing.
Mystery vomit.
And then she Venmo'd me like $100 to
Wow.
clean my car.
Thank you, Monica.
You actually weren't invited out that night. You were just the Uber driver.
Yeah, essentially.
Krisha told me not to tell you.
Essentially. I also bought their drinks. I don't know. Maybe they used me.
And they came over and ate all our food and watched the
Yeah.
TV in our living room.
And then
Yeah,
slept on our couch and then left without a
Most
word.
expensive Uber ride you've
Uh-huh.
ever sponsored.
But yeah, I was like, Montesquieu, this is crazy. I almost sent some of it back, but then I was like, I don't know this girl. She She's probably rich. She's fine.
She has
the
a
money.
house in Houston.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
In the city.
I think she's in software too. I think Krisha
Yeah.
talks to me every so often about her, but I think she works in consulting too. I'm not sure. Similar kind of paths because, you say software and anyone who has any tangential like friend or whatever, they're like, oh, my cousin's brother's aunt's
Ex-wife.
sister-in-law also works as a software engineer. And you're like, okay, cool. And then they're like,
Y'all should meet.
Do you know Python? What?
Can you do tic-tac-toe in Python?
I was in college one time and there was this guy who, those friends in college or just real life, actually, this still applies now that I'm out of school, but you just kind of know, like you see them and you kind of know them. So you don't know what to call them. Like maybe they're an acquaintance.
That was us for like the first 4 years of our...
Yeah, that is true.
Of knowing each other. But
you know who they are. You don't really talk to them, but you could if you wanted to. This guy, we were out in a group one night and we were just kind of casually talking about school and he asked me my major, what
standard
else?
stuff in college.
Yeah, exactly. And I told him I was
Name,
a computer
major,
science
where
major.
you're from, blah,
Yeah.
blah. It's a standard conversation.
And he found out I was in computer science and he was like, oh, do you know Photoshop? And if you don't have any insight into like what a computer science degree entails,
That is hilarious.
Super math heavy, super theory heavy. It has nothing to do with graphic design or Photoshop or anything like that. And he was like, I'm trying to design some t-shirts and I'm really looking for some help. And I was wondering if you could help me out. And
you were like, for sure, dude, I got you.
I think I laughed in his face.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah. I think I immediately laughed in his face.
You're like, oh, no, honey, that's not me.
Yeah, but it's
not
wild,
quite.
like the concepts people have of like what that even
science
it can mean
of
so many different
computers.
things.
A person's response to what a computer engineering degree is directly shows you what they know about computers.
Yeah. Like, oh,
That's probably why he needed help with Photoshop.
Oh gosh.
But to be fair, Photoshop is really hard to navigate sometimes.
It actually is like a very,
it's
very difficult application that I wouldn't care to use.
No interest in it whatsoever.
Or speaking from a software perspective, I wouldn't want to work on making it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
Seems so. Things with like such a dense and I guess powerful like graphical user interface. I just can't even begin to think how you like make that.
Yeah. I want to say also me either.
Excellently said.
Either. The all you need to know about the way that computers work in any context is it's just layers of stuff. So you have this large application like Photoshop, and it's just a series of smaller things working together. So, you look at the whole thing and you're like, this is insane. How do you design an application that works in this many ways and does this many things? But it's really a combination of these tiny problems that you solve, and then they work together. You solve 2 of them, they work together. 4 of them, they work together. That's basically computers, right? Ones and zeros doing things that do other things.
Yeah.
Sean, did you know Liz is one of the smartest people I know?
I do now.
I feel like that's a lie.
No, I am already firmly of the opinion that you're the smartest person I have knows. I can't believe we got several minutes into our best friendship without me knowing that you were a computer engineer.
Oh, man. Yeah.
One of the smartest. I mean, I did go to Harmony, and there's a lot of super geniuses
Milad.
there. I don't think Milad. I mean, Milad is super smart. Yes.
Milad better not listen to this podcast. I'm going to edit this shit out.
Well, do you know what he ended up doing?
He's in San Francisco right now. That's all I know.
I don't know, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Is that his deal?
I
would
would definitely
believe
is
it
probably
if
in tech, but
you-
I don't think he went like the computer engineer route.
Okay. I just have to say, for the sake of clarity, computer science and computer engineering are 2 different things.
But you're
Wait, which one are you?
Well, it's semantics,
Technically,
right? Computer engineering as a major is normally the hardware portion of it, and then software engineering is the like what you would picture as like a coder. I hate that term, coder.
you're just troubleshooting.
But I don't do. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't mean to minimize.
Shut up. I know Python. But I don't do anything that involves hardware. Like we learn about it in college, depending on what courses you choose to take. And
Right.
It's important to know how a computer works, just like at a hardware level if you're going to do software. But I didn't hate myself enough to do both. So some
Powerful.
people do computer engineering and computer science, or they'll do like ECE, which is, electrical and computer engineering, and that's not my deal. I stick to the stuff that's like fake and not in real life.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
On websites. And
Same.
shit. I got you.
Yeah. All of code is just made up.
No, I don't know what he did, but I do know Emron. You met Emron.
Yeah.
I think Emron is probably the smartest person.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
He was like an insane level of smart by just existing.
Yeah.
And I think he works for like Google or something right now, or he works for
That sounds right. Yeah.
one of those. And I think he did do computer science, so I think he's somewhere in there.
I feel like I got super lucky because I did not choose computer science because I was like, this is a really lucrative occupation, and I know this will set me up to be stable for life. Not at all how that went. I decided I was going to be, and again, the word decided is like loosely used. I wanted to do engineering, and it was between 3, and it was like aerospace, mechanical, and I remember OU had a major that was like engineering physics, and I was like, all right, maybe one of these 3. And I was kind of back and forth about it, and I hadn't declared a major at OU, and I know going in as a freshman, it doesn't matter that much. But me being me, I wanted to make the decision ahead of time. And I wouldn't shut up about it. And my dad was a software engineer, and so my mom one day was like, will you just try computer science? Like, your whole family is good at it, because all 4 of my older brothers, have been
also your brothers are super smart too.
Oh, they're so smart.
I just don't know them that well.
They got so far without going to college too, so sometimes it makes me think about like what's
why did I go to college?
Yeah, what's necessary and what's not. I did walk like a much straighter line in life than they did though, and that's kind of always been my shtick. But yeah, my mom was like, your whole family's good at tech, like how about you just do that and shut up, and like if you hate it you can change your major. And I was like, all right, fine. So I sent the email and I was like, hey, incoming undecided freshman, can you go ahead and change from engineering undecided to computer science? And then I sat down in my first programming class. It was like the very first day of school. Sat down. It was like an intro to Java course, and the professor started talking about variables, and that's one of the first things you learn is how to declare a variable. And almost immediately I was like, this is my shit. Yeah. This is what I'm meant to do. But never was it like, oh, I'm going to be stable. There's tons of jobs, I'll make enough money. Like I just got so lucky.
Bro, you just stumbled right into the exact thing that you love to do. God, that's so cool.
I recognize that. And I talked to friends, even outside of my major, right? Outside of my major, who were like, yeah, this is my 5th major. And you were one of them. I'm going to be real.
Yeah. I've had like 4 or 5 different majors.
Dude, me too. And I didn't even go to college.
And I'm still unsure of what really is something that I wanted to do.
And I do want to say
something
that
I'd be okay with doing
that's
forever.
okay. Like, I totally understand how you could end up there. And like, my story is stupid. Like, maybe that's the exchange I got, right? We were talking earlier about the number of hardships that were sequential in my life, and maybe like the one payout I got was I just
stumbling upon something that you
I just
actually loved.
Randomly chose an occupation that like was what I was going to do forever. So, even in computer science, like over the years, you watch a number of people go. Yeah. You're like, oh, see you later. By your senior year, like all of these people that you started with are just gone.
They're now in the nursing track.
Yeah.
That also, I want to say that also happens in engineering.
They switch to business.
Business.
They're in communications.
Dude, they're all selling crypto now.
I know so many people from my freshman engineering class who graduated with like finance or even MIS and stuff like that.
Well, MIS, you go from computer science and you have the reference point of like, okay, if I wanted to really hate myself, I would stay in this major. And at OU, it's like a really math heavy, like really theoretical major. And it's really tough. Like your last 2 years are really tough. You take like operating systems and theory of computation, and like it's all of these things that you never would have thought existed. You're like, wow, I can relegate the power of a computer to, like a function. What does that even mean?
Sean's like, what?
Yeah.
Dude, I just can't believe that when you text me to ask if it was cool for her to be on the podcast, you didn't lead with, she's a computer person.
Yeah.
That's such an easy pitch for me.
That's funny. I remember telling him to say, what did you say? Like, if she's cool or interesting.
As long as she's funny or interesting.
Yeah, and I told him he should say, well, she's neither. So, so that settles that. But yeah, you start with this reference point of computer science, which is so hard. Like, hate yourself hard. And maybe some people like had exposure to coding when they were little, or like are extremely smart. Like that's fine. That just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, this is crazy, but I know I want to do it. But if you don't know, or you're incentivized by money or opportunity or whatever, you're like, I'm gonna make it big with a startup, whatever. You're probably gonna drop out. But going to MIS is so much easier because you don't have the math, you already have some of that coding background and you're probably stronger there just because you went into the School of Computer Science, and then you're like, oh no, I don't,
And then it's a cakewalk after
I'm
that.
not in it for real. And then the rest of school for you is really easy. And, it was hard sometimes to not look at some of the other majors and just be so ugly about it. Just be like, oh, well, you get to go to your parties and whatever.
I mean, that's literally every single person with a hard major is constantly
C-sharp or
it's just, they're just constantly like, oh, your major's easy. Oh, you're like,
and it's so like, that's so annoying. Let's be honest. That's
it's
so annoying. No one wants to hear about how much better than you they are, or vice versa.
But it's just something that always happens.
Yeah, but it's really hard not to be bitter like that. And for me, it was like, well, all this is a game anyway, so who really cares, right?
All this is for a piece of paper.
College is such a tricky conversation, right? Because you could talk about it from like, oh, well, I highly value learning and growth and whatever. That's reasonable, right? But do you value spending huge amounts of money on, some sequential series of classes that some, arbitrary group of people decided was critical for you to take in order for you to know a certain something about something? And it's interesting because in computer science, like, almost none of what you learn is directly transferable to industry.
Yeah.
Almost none of it. And like, you learn how to think, right? That's an important thing. But as far as the actual, like, has anybody told me to like write code on paper, like write an algorithm on paper? Like, outside of interviewing, you're really never going to have to be like,
even interviews now, especially the ones online, they'll just give
it's just like a screen share and you just code. Yeah. So it's weird. It depends on how you think about it. Like I said, none of my brothers went to college and they're all doing really well. So I don't know. I think it's tough because like I have my experience, right? And it did well for me. And sometimes it's hard for me to...
You also took a lot of student loans as well.
I did. Yeah. I took a lot of... And again, right? Like if I had not been lucky enough to just stupidly choose whatever I wanted, and
I bet you would have
gotten lucky enough
there.
Well, imagine if I was a teacher, right? Going to OU, becoming a teacher, coming back and earn, I don't know how much teachers earn, like $40,000 a year, right? Like you
it's gone up a little bit since then, but
40 to 60 depending on
where you are, probably. Yeah.
And tenure and stuff.
That's tough. Being an educator is a very important thing, but if you have some hefty amount of student debt, like that's going to sit with you for a long time.
Yeah.
So again, just
whole life. Back
to getting lucky. I really don't have myself to credit for that.
It makes me wonder if it's hereditary.
Liz, you might be the smartest person I know, but I still taught you everything you know.
But not everything she knows.
We'll come back to that. I am. Sean, would you like the floor?
Sure, I'd love the floor. For the kids at home, because obviously I know, but could y'all just tell everyone else what MIS is or what it means?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Management Information Systems, I believe, is the acronym. And for most schools, I believe...
Some people still have it as CIS, Computer Information System.
I believe it's in the School of Business.
Yeah, but they're both the same thing, I think, or at least very closely related.
Interesting.
CIS or MIS.
Okay.
And the deal there is you would be switching. Some schools, it depends as well. At my school, computer science was in the College of Engineering, but the point is you'd be switching out of an engineering track and then
going to a business track.
Yes, which traditionally, I mean, say what you will about different schools and different degrees. Traditionally, it is a bit easier to complete a business degree.
I can confirm.
Sure.
It's a lot easier
than an engineering degree.
As someone who was on the engineering track for like 2.5 years, switched to business for like 1.5. It's so much easier.
So between like an engineering degree, like the one you have, or the one you would switch from to something like MIS, is the subject matter and ultimate goal of the degree pretty similar, even though one is considerably easier to get through?
MIS is more about like using the technology in business.
Okay.
As opposed to actually learning
Gotcha.
how the technology works and then implementing and using it.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher level, I would say. So computer science, you're like you're in the thick of it. You're really learning like, what is binary? How do I convert from hex? How do I think at one point, one of my classes, we had to like build a computer on paper. Like you have to write all the parts and, talk about registers and, all of the different things that go into not only like a computer itself, like the literal thing, but how to code and how I mean, it's called computer science, right? The science of computing. And then MIS, of course, is
it's Excel.
Learning how to use Excel.
Yeah.
Well,
it's mostly Excel.
It's Excel.
You take a database class.
They do database.
Most people really struggle with the database class, and then you graduate.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Database
Writing
is
down
very...
MIS in my notes for for the 4th time that I try to go to college later.
In all seriousness, though, yeah, it is a lot higher level. And because it's in the School of Business, you tend to focus a lot more on your communication skills, right? You know, I would say if you're in the School of Business, the emphasis would be more on kind of the organizational pieces of like all of the systems you use and all the technology you use. Whereas in computer science, it's all about like the system itself.
Yeah. You're building it instead of using it.
Yeah.
As opposed to how it operates in a business matter.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which actually I think puts you at a disadvantage if you're a computer science student. Say you do perfectly in college, but you never have an internship where you're exposed to the way that software development works at a company inside of a legitimate organization. You don't learn that the way that you are successful in college does not really translate to the real world until you get into
your
that
grades don't really
situation.
matter.
Yeah. And you do collaborate every single day when you're a software engineer, and your decisions are not, you need to know how to make sound decisions, right? In context of, systems you're designing or different kind of algorithms that you're putting together, but you work with a team at the end of the day.
And it's all based upon what the business wants, like what they're seeking after. So you could be able to do all these things, but if the business doesn't need you to do those things for their operation, then it's just a,
And I think at the end of the day too, like a lot of folks have this idea of you'll have to tell me if I get too far away from the mic. I keep doing that.
No, you're good.
I'm
very conscious. I was going to say, you can definitely adjust yourself here if you would like to not crane your neck to see me.
I'm trying to optimize the positioning, and it is hard because
it's all good.
You let IM choose the chairs.
Yeah, I know.
And hopefully that's the last time you do that. Whenever you upgrade, I think you should fire him and hire a new manager.
Get a consultant in here.
Operations. You need a call in a consultant.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Plethora of those out there.
Don't look at me.
Are you a consultant?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Technically, yeah.
If you didn't know that, then I take back what I said about you looking at me that way. Yeah. It's like hard to delineate real fast for people because they're like, oh, what do you do? And sometimes you can tell people like don't really care that much to hear about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm a consultant. And I think the most often found context of a consultant is like business.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
well, a lot of engineers I know went into consulting. It's
really interesting. It's really fun. I mean, it's hard. I feel like every time you ask me how things are going, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Work is hard. I'm good. Things are stressful.
That's funny. I know some consultants who their job is like, they think their job is so easy.
Really?
Yeah. But it's different types of consult. Obviously.
Yeah.
You're more on.
It depends on the firm too. Yeah. And the thing about consulting is by nature, you're going to be staffed at different clients, and different clients have different needs. That's the point of consulting. Is you work for a firm, the firm will dispatch you to different clients and assign you to projects. And it depends on what project you're on, as far as how stressed you'll be or the kind of work you're doing. Sometimes you'll be on a contract that's like, you need this piece of software built by this date. But other times it's like, you have indefinite contracts that are like, I just need a team of this size to just like work on stuff that we need to get done for this amount of time. My firm tries to kind of stay away from that just because, I don't know, that's like what we...
Mentally exhausting.
Well, yeah. I think it's a design of meaningful work, right? Like sometimes it's easy to not do work that's meaningful whenever a company's like, we just want you to work on whatever we want you to work on for some amount of time. So
you're just waiting around until they figure it out.
Exactly. And it is really fun to just build stuff from the ground up. And I keep using the word lucky, but been lucky to get staffed on projects where we are building things like start to finish. It can be really rewarding. I was saying something when I like turned to comment on my microphone. I just want to say I don't remember what that was.
I don't know.
That's okay. That's how it works.
General apologies for that's how I talk to my friends. I'll like start sentences and stop them.
Yeah.
And that's really annoying. My mom makes fun of me.
That's the whole thing.
Literally all we do.
And then start a different sentence and just never comment
literally our whole thing.
The fact that
And then
We'll go
everyone
from
yells at us later when they listen to this, and they're like,
what were you doing? Yeah.
y'all had 5 conversations and didn't tie up any of them except one, and you were wrong. And I'm like, hell yeah, catch you next week.
Absolutely. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast, y'all.
Welcome to the show about the show, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Liz, you should start a podcast. You've got an outstanding recording voice.
Oh, thank you. That's actually not the first time I've been told that. I think it would be interesting. I just, what is there to talk about?
What we just talked about.
Yeah, what do you mean? You have so much to talk about, dude.
And we haven't even scratched the surface, Sean.
Like,
I haven't even scratched the surface.
Surefish.
I'm not from here.
I didn't talk until he was 4. Everyone leave him alone.
I actually didn't, y'all.
That's not true.
I was a very late bloomer.
You didn't talk until 4?
My mom and dad both thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't say my first word until I was like 3.5.
Your first real word, but
Yeah.
you like made noises.
Has that been disproven that there's nothing wrong with you?
No, not yet. I haven't been to a doctor in so many years. I don't want
I don't want them to
it.
diagnose me.
Yeah.
We don't want to know the truth.
Fear of diagnosement is why I haven't gone to a doctor.
Yeah,
But
relatable.
But no, they said that, I mean, they're both adamant that it was like 3.5. And they both said that I wouldn't like say noises. I would just like hum or mumble a lot.
Okay.
They would be like,
We mumble a lot now.
Yeah. But they said that I would hum a lot, or like,
really,
my way of communicating was like, or like that.
Okay.
You
And
also
they thought something was wrong with me.
You
Which,
also just used
fair.
the word diagnosement.
Did I?
Wow, I didn't even catch that.
No, I said diagnose me.
We'll let the people
Fear of
decide.
diagnosement. Yeah.
We'll let the people decide.
Dude. We had a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Who makes up words and what?
And what do they mean? Yeah.
And what says? Who says what a word is and what isn't a word?
Who's to say?
I have this theory. So I pay a lot of attention to kind of like the way people speak and the words they use. I have this theory. I was a really awkward kid, and that's kind of true, right? I was really shy. I didn't know like how to interact with people on a base level. And if you've been friends with me for a long time, hopefully you didn't notice. But if you did, then fine. I know the truth.
That's probably why we weren't friends when we were younger, because you were still.
I was just too awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Honestly, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you were the cool kid after all.
was the cool kid.
The little ladies' man.
Dude, nobody nowadays believes me that I was the cool kid.
Because you say words
You're
like
still the cool kid.
He uses words like diagnosement.
I
Who's
know.
gonna trust your?
That's why people consider him the cool kid, because he's like, you're like, oh, this guy's not that smart. But he's cool.
But he's
you
cool.
know?
That's his redeeming feature. He's funny.
But then his dirty secret is he is smart. He just hides it really well.
So
hides it from himself even.
I am actually tutored me in SAT math.
I'm the reason she got into college.
You are such a math boy.
That's a stretch.
I know.
Ooh.
That's a stretch. But I always
No, I know.
thought that you should have done like engineering or something. I
Yeah.
know you tried. You tried. But
I really think, I don't know how to put this really, but I think what I know now about like life, if I had like gone back with the knowledge I have now about life, I think I would have really stuck it out and been a lot more efficient and better at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I went from like being like super sheltered and stuff into like a whole new world, and I really didn't know how to like.
Oh yeah.
You had that
Deal with
slingshot
it.
experience.
Oh, I get
and
that.
I just wasn't really.
So much, man.
I just wasn't really in the right state of mind to really challenge myself in that way.
Yeah. I barely
think
was, honestly.
Yeah.
I barely made it through some of the worst times in college just because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
No idea.
I mean, me in literally almost every class, but also it was because I didn't go to class most times, and I didn't read what I was supposed
Yeah.
to. But like now as an adult, I understand how things are done and stuff, and I would definitely go back and do that. But I think about it, but I'm also happy with what I've done in life and where I'm going. So
Yeah.
there's really no point in me like regretting that,
Worrying
you know?
too much about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think that's, an important thing to acknowledge. Is like you get to college and you're like, man, it feels like everyone around me knows exactly what's up. I don't have any idea what's going on ever.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm always on the edge of a cliff. I'm about to fall like every single day, So I identify pretty heavily with that experience. Like I, for instance, like did competitive gymnastics, right? And everyone knew me as like,
The gymnast.
that's
yeah.
Liz. She's the gymnast and the academic. And that's like it. And then you get to college. No one gives a shit what you did in high school.
No.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit what you used to do or like who you were back then. And I just didn't know what to do. And again, like the group of friends that we had that back when you were in Crowley schools before you went to Harmony, I had been friends with them for years and years and years. And so it was like I was allowed to be my introverted self and opt out of socializing with them, but I knew the opportunity was there if I wanted it. Like I knew I could call any of them up at any point in time. And I never had to make new friends because I had the same friend group forever. And then I got to college and
in a whole new different state.
I was so naive. I was like, I'm good. Like, I can make friends. I'm comfortable on my own. Right. But like put yourself in a whole new state, whole new city. You're all of a sudden in this insane like youth culture. You don't know what's going on. And oh man, it was horrible. It was such a struggle. Yeah. So maybe I didn't struggle with like knowing what I wanted to do with my life, but I absolutely struggled as a human. But what I was going to say, back to making fun of you using the word diagnosement, is like when I was super shy, so like middle school into high school, I remember it kind of peaked like right when I started high school. I feel like I socially engineered like how to be a human, right? Like how to be a person and interact with other people. And I think I did it by paying like too much attention to how people talk. And so now it's like I'm hyper focused on word choice and even my own. And sometimes it is to my detriment because I'll get stuck on things people say, right? Someone will ask me like the most casual question. And if the wording even slightly confuses me, I don't know how to respond. And I'll just, it's like, I can't even like call an audible. I'm just stuck. I'm like, wait, but were you asking about, but can you and it's just
have a little brain fart.
It's just the word. Well, it's like I don't even have a brain anymore. I mean, maybe I never did.
I mean, that's arguably better than the inverse, which is where I usually live, which is when there's any kind of question about how exactly they meant the question, I just answer any form that there could have possibly been, and it takes a long time. They regret it.
You just put the responsibility on them. The responsibility of interpretation is on anyone who chooses. I like that. I should start doing that. Not my problem. You asked me. I'll give you what I have, and the rest is up to you.
Exactly.
I like that approach.
You didn't specifically clarify, so here's 20 minutes of my answer that should have been 5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I do that sometimes anyway. You take a shot, it doesn't work. I suppose that's how it goes. But
you live and you learn, dude.
That's life, dude.
And sometimes you don't learn.
And sometimes you don't have to learn.
And you keep living anyway.
Yeah, that's also true. Hell yeah, dude.
And thanks for listening. That's
thanks, guys.
Life lesson of the day.
Anyways, what a blast from the past.
Okay, great. So now that we're all caught up, what have you guys been up to lately? Not you. I know what you've been up to. What have you been up to, Liz?
What do you do? Nothing.
What do I do? I literally told you everything I do for the last 6 months.
You go to Salada.
I go to Salada.
Oh, that is all he does, dude. You're talking to the 2 times a day Salada champ right there, dude.
And literally, Sean, I told her I've gone to Salada so many times, and I've gotten the exact same order to the T.
Yep.
I
mean, if you go to the same place regularly and you don't get the same thing every time, what are you doing?
Being adventurous?
No. Adventurous doesn't happen at the same restaurant twice in one day.
I do think you have a point. I do think like if you have a place you go,
you have an order.
There's a reason you go there, and it's to get a certain thing.
You know what I don't enjoy though? Going to that Salada almost around the same time on the same day every week. And the employees acting like they don't even know me. They look at me like I'm a new person, and they don't acknowledge me at all.
That's because they're all 16.
No, they're all old and can't speak English.
Oh, well, that's even different. And, well, it's different.
Here's where we ask you why.
Why they're old and can't speak English?
They're from Nepal.
No, they're Mexican, dude. Come on.
Well, Hispanic.
You're
of
right.
Latin descent.
Thank you so
much. They are my panic.
We had that talk earlier.
Yeah, I don't want to assume. That's my bad.
You did anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you just got to go with it.
I was just trying to ask, why is your value placement on the employees at Salada?
Because I love service.
Yeah, he works in a restaurant.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You're looking for a first name basis?
I've always had a dream of going to a place and walking in, they'd be like, oh, the usual? And then I don't even have to do anything.
Have you ever had that experience?
No.
Because let me tell you a little story.
I was hoping Salada would have been that experience.
I'm pretty sure you've heard this one, but poor Liz hasn't, and she has to now.
Poor baby girl.
It's not a long story, though. When I was a young man, I used to clean pools for a living.
Okay.
And when I did that, I went to the same Whataburger and got the same order for breakfast for more than a year straight.
This is why we're meant to be.
Yeah. And it didn't take a very long time before I would pull up and like start to say my order, and they would just know the rest of it and be like, oh, we got you, pull up.
Yeah.
And that was a daily ritual of shame for me.
Oh, shame.
That like...
Oh, but he wants it.
Yes.
He wants the ritual. You had the ritual.
I had the ritual.
You didn't want it.
I think the difference lies in the fact that he's going to Salada and I'm going to Whataburger.
Well, I would just like to say maybe it's just a case of the grass is greener on the other side. Maybe since you had it, you don't want it. Maybe since I don't have it, I want it.
Well, that's very profound.
It sounds like you should start going to Whataburger.
Facts.
I can't, dude.
You can't.
They got salads?
Bro, anybody who goes to like McDonald's or Whataburger for a salad, who are you kidding yourself?
Why are you there? Go somewhere.
What are you doing?
Go somewhere different.
Yeah. I have my own experience with being known with every visit.
I thought you were going to say with Whataburger.
No, man, I wish. I have a very sincere love affair with honey butter chicken biscuits, but I have some really aggressive dietary restraints. So we tried it.
I don't even know if we can get through all of that in the podcast.
No, I don't. It's been like 45 minutes. I don't think that's one podcast. That's like 5 installments with a movie and a book.
Before you continue any sort of thought right now, I have to pee so bad.
Go pee, dude.
So please entertain yourselves, but don't start anything of worthy until I'm back.
Of worthy.
Of what?
ESL.
What I said, dude.
Did you say warranty?
No,
worthy.
He said...
don't start anything of worthy.
Oh, of worth?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one he was looking for.
Poor
yeah.
Iam.
Yeah, poor
All
Iam.
right, well, now that we're here and Iam's not here, let's talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, what's up?
What's up? Not much. I'm in town for work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I live in Dallas. I don't know if that came up. I don't know what Iam does ever.
This is it mostly.
But yeah, I don't know, like, if he was like, oh, I'm going to get dinner with my friend Liz, whatever. I live in Dallas. I work in Dallas. We talked a little bit about software engineering, but I work for a consulting firm. So what they started doing during COVID was, we have offices in maybe like most major American cities, I'll say.
Okay.
Most, so that no one gets offended, but we
all the important ones.
Yeah. We have a Houston office, right?
Okay.
Dallas is our headquarters. We have a Houston office. And then during COVID, they started staffing us. Normally we stay in our home city, which is great, but they like us to go to the client site and, have FaceTime. And that's kind of like a big thing for our company is nurturing relationships. But during COVID, no one was in person anywhere. Yeah. So they started staffing us just kind of like all over the place, right? Like if there was a project in LA that they needed employees for, they would staff us there. Like I was on an LA client last year.
Okay.
And then this year got staffed at a Houston client. So have been at this client since maybe April, thereabouts. So come here every so often and was in the office for a while. So I was in town and Iam begged me for some of his time.
Okay.
I sure did.
Excellent.
Unapologetically. And so for once I said yes, because I said, well, I got to do this twice a year and I'm booked until December after this. So may as well say yes.
Maybe we'll see each other on New Year's and we'll start our one in the beginning of the year.
Get it over with faster. Sounds good to me. But yeah, I love Houston. I love being here. I really do. I almost moved here last year. I talk about it pretty often. Have I executed? No. It's really funny. I went to a wedding earlier this year in like June and I saw someone I hadn't seen since high school. And they were like, well, what are you up to? How you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm good. Just working in software, work in Dallas. And she was like, oh, I thought you lived in Houston. I was like, no, just go there a lot. But yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if you've met anyone. Have you met anyone who is either from Dallas or from Houston and swears the other one is better? There's like a very interesting rivalry between the two cities. It's insane.
I despise Dallas.
Okay, cool.
And I don't confer with anybody who doesn't if they're from Houston. But not for any reason.
That qualifier was for me. If they're from Houston.
Well, I just mean, I don't expect people from other cities to hate Dallas. But if you were raised in Houston and you don't hate Dallas, you're wrong.
Well, I think I get confused because they both have their value.
Mm-hmm.
They're similar in some ways, very different in others. And so it's like, you don't have to.
Yeah, that is true. You don't have to.
Really have to hate the other one.
But you should.
You should.
Okay. I don't hate Houston. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I live in Dallas. I've lived there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I work there. So many friends there.
But you're not from Dallas.
I'm from Fort Worth.
Okay.
Technically from New York.
Where were you raised?
Fort Worth.
I was raised in Fort Worth. I was born in upstate New York.
Okay.
And then we moved when I was 7. So I definitely lived in Texas for more time than I lived anywhere else.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. I just think the effect is odd, right? There is value to both places.
Sure. But
I think the Houston-Dallas rivalry probably stems...
I want to say sports.
Yeah, from sports. Because, I mean, for a long, long time, it was Dallas versus the world.
Yeah.
When it comes to football, at least. And Houston, obviously, is... Like, if you go back a couple decades, was like not a household name in a lot of sports, maybe more than a couple decades compared to how they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And
their team isn't as old of a franchise.
No, definitely
either,
not.
Right?
Yeah.
As the Cowboys are.
Yeah,
like
I mean, the Cowboys are, God, as old as this country almost.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had the
America's
Oilers.
team.
Yeah, exactly. And we had the Oilers before we had the Texans. But
Yeah.
I mean, that was a whole different,
really,
like a whole different era, it feels like.
Yeah.
I guess also part of it is when it comes down to comparing major cities, Dallas and Houston are really the only competition that each other have, because all the other, even the other major cities in Texas are more like small cities in comparison.
I mean, I don't know. People like to talk about Austin a lot. It's like its own thing, though.
I'm surprised you haven't been offered to like move to Austin with all the big tech companies and stuff going there.
I don't want to live there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't want to live there anymore.
That's the deal.
I don't know.
Back then, I did want to live there. I used to love Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Austin's great for a day or two. I feel that way about everywhere in Texas.
Yeah, if you want to buy property there, though, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I mean, if you want to buy property in Texas, again, Houston and Dallas or the surrounding areas are like your best bet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, good luck buying property anywhere right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I do think, Austin is cool for what it is, but I don't think it's for me. I don't know. I always have the issue, and for some hardcore Texans, maybe this is like a controversial opinion, but it's hard to find the balance between maybe like the more urban scene in some of the major Texas cities, and also nurturing, like if you're an outdoorsy person, like you have to travel. Yeah. Like that's the deal. So right now I think my conflict as far as like, do I want to stay in Texas? Do I want to move to Houston? Do I want to move just like somewhere else? Because in tech, you can find fully remote jobs, and it's insane. It's like a free for all, right? Like, especially in the industry right now, you can just demand an insane salary and like be fully remote, and that's that. So it is that concept of like, do I want to be somewhere where it's just the norm to be able to like go outside and, enjoy it, have something to look at outside of just like, other buildings, or, actually have some,
holy shit, it's 100 degrees
around. I do not mind the Houston heat.
Yeah.
I don't. And also I will say, so the office that we have is pretty nice, and we're on like the 17th floor. And I was in there last week, and Houston is so green. For a city. It's so green. That's really nice.
Yeah. I don't think anybody
They've made
really
a conscious effort in the last few years to grow their greenery.
For sure. So based on all of that, I've got 3 things that I want to say to you.
Oh, goodness. All right.
And they're in no particular order.
Okay.
And I think they probably contradict each other in some way. I know they do.
Great.
So the first one, I definitely think you should move to Houston. I would love that for you. Honestly. I think as much as you like Houston, there's even more that would make you like it more that you probably haven't seen yet. It's truly a wonderful city, and I think if people don't spend like a ton of time here, a lot of that nuance doesn't really open up to people. So I think it would be an interesting experience, and you have the freedom to do it. Yeah. And you might arguably like it more than where you are now.
Arguably.
Point 2. I can't remember point 2. So anyway, point 3. I was actually just saying earlier this week or maybe last week that my new dream is to find a fully remote position in America that pays in American dollars, and then move out of the country to somewhere where American dollars go a lot further. Oh. And live like royalty on an American salary. That's crafty. Yeah. I remember my second point. You
did say no particular order, so you're still.
Yeah, I guess technically this is now the third point. Yes. The other one has been moved up to second. The third point is, I've always thought to myself, anytime I've thought about like moving to Austin, or I mean, that's the only city in Houston I've ever really considered moving to that wasn't like a work only choice. Sorry. If I'm going to move 4 hours away, I might as well move to another state.
Yeah.
Or another country if that's like what's calling.
I think you can get a lot of change benefit. And I think, it's been interesting to me to think through some of the choices I've watched my friends make. And some of them, some of my friends, to be specific, went to school in different states, went to school in Texas, and I know you can say like Oklahoma's not that far from Texas. It's not that different from Texas. Both are like southern and whatever, what have you. I'm so glad I got out of Texas. Like, I think even if you were to go to a state that's close to Texas or still has similar, I don't know if there's a culture that's similar to Texas. Yeah. But, I think
Florida's like the big comparison. I think a lot of people like to say like Florida and Texas are
to compare Florida to Texas. That's news to me.
Really?
I don't know how I feel about that. In my mind, I hold Florida as like the meme state eternal.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
a lot of
people
the
do. Florida Man subreddit exists for a reason. I do realize their beaches are beautiful, but
I think in terms of like the way people live, or I guess their overall attitude about how the world works is very similar to Texas.
Okay. I wouldn't know. I know like 2 people from Florida and I don't remember who they are. So
I think a lot of,
but I do, back to my point, right? Like, I think moving to a different place, even if it is like, even if you were to pick the closest state that's not Texas, like you can get a ton of benefit from introducing yourself to a brand new place. And that's what I was talking about with like my friends who chose to go to college in different places, right? Like Krisha chose to go to LA. I don't think she was in college. I think it was right after college. But like, I could see the change in her, like the exposure to the different culture. And it's still America. She still was taking an opportunity that matched kind of her desired career path at the time. But you can grow so much from throwing yourself to the sharks in a completely different place. So,
I mean, even like your move to OU, my move from Fort Worth to Houston, just like a whole different experience. And like a brand new kind of like fresh slate definitely like makes you grow, like forces you to grow.
Oh yeah. I told you, like, I didn't know how to make friends. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even realize like the people I knew I had known for years and years and just never relearned how to make friends like on a meaningful level.
I was gonna say, even when you make like those new friends, you look at your old friends like, man, I don't know anything about you.
Oh yeah.
Because when you made those friends, the way you made friends was like, hey, do you want to come play at recess?
They're like 2 feet away from you in class and you're like, okay, we're friends now.
Whereas in a whole new city or a whole new state, you like actually have to make some sort of effort into sustaining a friendship or being someone's friend. So. Teaches you a lot.
It does. It really does. And then I think too, there are different inflection points in your life where you're like, I just feel itchy, like I feel like I am in a place to take a look at what I'm doing and ask myself if like, this is what I need to be doing.
It's like you're speaking into my soul right now, dude.
Yeah. And I think I haven't really done anything about it, but I've been there for like a few months now and it's weird because it's like all of a sudden you see all of your life be like that came before that kind of period of time as like one phase and you're like, all right, I just feel like I feel like I'm moving into another phase of life. And so I know it's up to me to determine like what is going to delineate this. And so now it's time to do some thinking. We talked about this at dinner, but just like taking the time to understand like where you've been and how that like leads to where you are, I think can do a lot of good for you. We also talked about psilocybin a lot. Like,
I was telling her she should take a trip.
Yeah. My brother talks to me a lot about like kind of the effects of it and like how it could, I'm a really deep thinker. I don't know if that's apparent by now, but very deep thinker. And so, my brother, one of my brothers, I have 1,000 of them, is like my best friend.
Okay.
And so we talk a lot about, some of our family experiences and like some of our experiences in life and some of the things that we like feel on the regular. And he always tells me, he's like, I really think you should, you have a lot to think about. And I think you could really benefit from a nice trip. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. So
no one knows what they mean until they know what it means.
Would you say that you and your brother are like-minded?
I would, but it's odd because we took very different paths in life. Yeah, like I mentioned this earlier,
you guys
but
also weren't close when you were younger either.
we were really close until like
High school or something, right?
age maybe like 11 or 12, like when my dad died was when my family just like fell apart. And then we went basically like the rest of his time in school and the rest of we're only a year apart, a year and a half apart. So
I remember when I met you, you weren't close with him at all.
No, yeah, we like were real, like when we were on those two different paths in life.
My brother knew your brother.
Yeah.
And
they were I remember Atish was on our like landline speed dial.
Yeah. They were actually pretty good friends.
Like that's
funny.
Yeah, that's how close my brother and I's brother were. So anyway, when we were on different paths, we were on very different paths, right? Like we like didn't talk for a really long time. And then this really cool thing happened where we kind of circled back eventually. Like I had gotten to a more stable point, so had he, and we kind of were like, hey, let's talk about the fact that you know, all this stuff happened, and we also like didn't talk to each other for however long, but also like no one is ever going to know me as well as you do because we share so much of our genetics and DNA. So we're very like-minded. We make different decisions and our lives went in very different directions. I always was very much like the kid who did what they were supposed to do, you know, followed the path set before them. And that's not to say that I wasn't in charge of my own decision making because, you know, I'm nothing if not intentional. But again, you know, it's odd because I feel like that's something that's ingrained in me, right? And to say that we're like-minded would maybe suggest that he would be, you know, kind of similar, you know, like
but he's not
predisposed to maybe the same kind of life or ending up in the same place. But he's a little bit of a freer thinker than I am, I suppose. But
do you think y'all share like a similar temperament?
Temperament in terms of...
I'm not entirely sure. I'm mostly asking these questions because
they sound pointed.
I'm probing to try to see like what kind of response you might have to psilocybin based on the responses that he's had. Yeah.
That might be actually like a reasonable way to go about it, right? We do have very similar dispositions. Like we're both very calm, anxious people.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like are aware enough to understand our anxiety, like to see it for what it is, but also, and maybe he would disagree with me. I feel like, you know, he does a good job of separating himself from it and like talking about it as its own thing. Right. So, and we both do have the same kind of response mechanisms to like stress or trauma.
Okay.
And so maybe, I don't know. That's a good point. I've never really thought about it like that. Like he makes these suggestions to me and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll like save that suggestion for a rainy day.
Yeah.
like you listen to someone and you're like, I heard you, but like, I'll just, you know, I'll leave that alone for now.
I'm gonna leave that one on the back burner.
I'll nod and smile, but you know, we're going to let it cook a little bit longer.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting suggestion. I used to really proselytize for people to try psychedelics.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I'm definitely not against it. I just think it is going to end up being more valuable to any given person if they find themselves drawn to it as opposed to being talked into trying it.
I'm very indifferent about it.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you.
Well, that's actually the best way to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I feel that way about like almost all substances. Very indifferent.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think people generally will take quote unquote the most from something like a psychedelic experience when they have the least expectation. And it really is going to be like whatever you make of it.
Yeah.
Whether that's just like things looking cool for a few hours or like having a profound experience that like changes the way you look at life.
Outside of yourself, like changing who you are. You were kind of talking about that earlier. You know, just changing your entire kind of lease on your...
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you think. I mean, you said it yourself, you're a deep thinker, but taking something like that really, really gets into the nitty gritty.
Next thing you know, you're Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
I
mean, I credit, God, I hope my parents aren't listening to this, but I credit one of my psilocybin trips as like fundamentally changing my outlook on life.
Yeah.
Like it probably, like you can look at me before and after, and I feel like I'm like two completely different people.
Well, it's been interesting to talk to you throughout the years. I know we make jokes about how often we see one another, but I do feel like every time I see you, I really enjoy speaking to you because I can tell you've been thinking about things. Like, say what you will about like your concept of an ideal path through life and how that's changed. But I do really appreciate the fact that like there is visible continuity of thought behind like things that are going on. I really identify with that just based on
yourself.
Again, I just
how,
think way too many thoughts, right? But you know,
I wonder if that doesn't even become a little easier to note because y'all don't talk to each other as often.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we see each other all the time, I mean, eventually we're gonna run out of things to think or talk about. But I think it's so healthy
and that's why I haven't moved to Houston yet.
Yeah, I think it's so healthy that people talk about it all the time. Like you have those friends, you don't see each other for a while, but then you see each other, and it's like. That's essentially what we are. Like, we can go months, even years without talking, but then we'll randomly meet up and be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
How's everything going? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's like the relationship that we've established.
I really like the feeling of seeing someone you haven't seen for a long time and being reminded of why they were valuable to you or how they continue to be valuable to you. Cause it's a really weird feeling. Like maybe you don't feel like meeting up with someone, or maybe you're like tired from work or whatever. Like I know you work today and like I was at the gym beforehand and you're like, well, I like this person. I'll just go like, I'll go have a meal with them. It'll be what it is. And then you're like totally surprised. You're like, man, we had this great conversation. Yeah. Somehow I ended up on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like I met this guy named Sean. It's his roommate. I've heard all, whatever. Like it's really nice to be surprised by not only like seeing people and enjoying your time with them, but seeing how they've grown. I think that can be really fulfilling as well. Like
such a wonderful experience as opposed to like the other outcome, which is like, oh, I wish I didn't come hang out today.
Oh yeah.
Like this is the same person I stopped hanging out with a year ago.
I was hoping you would have changed.
Yeah. That's also a tough one. Which weirdly happens more often than the latter.
Yeah.
Or the whatever we were talking about first.
The former.
And it's unfortunate.
Diagnosement.
But yeah, that happens even with our friend group. Like,
I know it can be tough because sometimes you can find yourself maintaining relationships just because you've always done that.
Ooh.
Right? You're just honoring a tradition of time as opposed to a tradition of friendship. And so I think that's another thing too. I kind of talked about feeling like I'm at this inflection point. And I think another thing for me is like, I could fill up all of my time if I wanted to. But, you get to a point where you're like, what is this doing for me? Like, I am doing things 100% of the time. Is it really valuable for me to just like keep moving and hold social obligations just because I'm obligated and just because like I have always agreed to like go to dinner with this person, or I've always agreed to like take phone calls from this person, right? Like, I think being intentional about that is like the next big like I know not everyone needs to take anything from this, but I think that's like the next big thing for me is like paying attention to the people that I give my time to and then consequentially understanding where I need to remove, like where to invest more effort and essentially where to remove it from, right? Because you only have 24 hours in a day. Ideally 8 of them are spent sleeping. If you're me, maybe it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Preach.
All of us, honestly.
Yeah.
Show me one mid-20s
man.
person that has 8 hours of sleep, bro.
I don't know. I used to sleep I used to sleep 9 or 10 hours a night in high school. Yeah. And then
even in high school, I didn't do that.
I went to college and then everything broke down. Like I can hardly sleep 9 hours if I try.
I think my entire college career, I didn't sleep before 12 a.m. My entire college career.
It's funny because I got to college and I like maintained the same traditions, right? I was like, in high school, I would sacrifice studying for a test to get more sleep. And it's crazy because it went fine. It went totally fine for me. And then I got to college and it was like, me and my ignorant ass, like, oh, computer science, sure. I learned really fast that that was not the way.
Experience.
So I started college my freshman year. I was like, I'm just going to, I don't know. I like to sleep. Yeah, I like to sleep. I'm going to get enough sleep. And then it's like over the 4 years, I just progressively got
steady
less.
Downward trend.
Yeah. And then I remember by the time I was doing finals week my senior year, like I would hear people talking about all-nighters, and like even as a junior I was like, I've only ever done that once and I don't plan on doing it again. But once I got to finals week my senior year, I was like,
all-nighters every night.
Whatever it takes to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do absolutely anything to not have to
Maybe that's what you really learn in college.
do
How to
anything.
really persevere through something.
Through being super underslept.
Yeah.
How to have the cognitive abilities of a 5-year-old and take an exam on the theory of computation. That's what college is about. Yeah.
Damn. That is something I hear a lot from people though, is that college is just as much about learning how to like do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As it is like actually learning the subject matter that you're doing.
Yeah. And again, we spoke earlier about there's like a kind of a divergence of the way you can think about college. You can be really cynical about it and have some really good points to make, but you also you can abstract it down to some pretty critical concepts. One of which is learning how to finish what you start. Mm-hmm. That's pretty critical. And then again, just learning how to learn, I think is another thing too. Like
that's really, in my opinion, I think that's the biggest thing. Learning how to learn.
Yeah. Cause I got out of college and I was like,
what did I
first of all, how did I survive? But second of all, not much of that is going to be carried with me into the next decade.
Well, none of my college experience has carried over into what I'm doing.
But the skills have.
Yeah. And I don't really know, in other industries how important it is to have a degree. I know in software it's becoming less important to have like a formal.
A lot of boot camps out there.
Yeah, to have a formal background. I know my company hires a lot of just general engineering majors, but also like I think I met a guy who was actually like a few levels higher than me who had been like a geology major or something, and he just knew how to problem solve, and so they were like, well, we can teach this guy how to code.
Yeah, he
has the mind, and so we'll invest in the skills, but you can't teach someone how to think.
Yeah.
So
hiring someone with a degree is like it's almost like a credential, but outside of the credential of whatever their degree is, it's a credential of like, this person can learn stuff.
Yeah.
And like figure stuff out if you give them the tools.
I think that's like an automatic assumption, and that's what makes it so difficult for those who don't have a degree.
Yeah.
You might I'm trying to say might and may at the same time. I am as conditioned as
Rub
contagious.
it off on you.
Yeah. Spending too much time with
him. Hang out with me long enough and you'll forget how to speak.
Start making up words. Diagnosement. So one of my brothers, like I said, there are quite a few. This is a different one than the one I was previously talking about, but he lives in San Francisco, works for, a really nice company out there, makes plenty of money. He didn't go to college, and he will tell you he has to work harder to demonstrate his skill set at first. Because I do think that there's an automatic assumption. You have a college degree, that's like 4 different assumptions made on behalf of the hiring manager, or on behalf of the person you're hiring from, the hiring manager. So I think it's totally true what they say, like college isn't for everyone. I also think like if you happen to have a degree, it does help you out a lot.
I think so, for sure.
But it gets tricky because you're like, it's so much money.
Yeah. How much are you going to spend for that?
It's so much
that foot in the door.
That set of assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it worth? I don't know. And again, if I just hadn't gotten super lucky and like closed my eyes and thrown my finger on a major that, made me reasonably successful, like I would absolutely probably have a different perspective on like my own cost benefit as far as how much my education costs. And no one tells you when you're 18, like, yo, this is with you like for a long time. I was like, all I know is I need enough money.
I just need to pay
cover
this semester.
This number, like I need enough.
Yeah. I just need to hit this number at the point. Yeah. I wish I would have known when I was
even if they do tell you, like even if they clearly lay it all out to you, 18-year-olds don't have a grasp of like what it means that you're going to be $60,000 in debt.
Yeah. Long-term thinking, like understanding the consequences of your actions.
It's so easy for people to be like, it's this much money, but once you get a job, you'll be okay.
That's so true
too. That's the big
like,
thing.
Let's talk about monthly payments and how much they suck.
Dude, let's talk about monthly payments people are making on their student loans that are just covering interest.
Yeah.
And aren't even lowering their principal a bit.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
It can be very I'll say discouraging. There are more severe words that deserve to be used, but
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of like understanding your own freedom, I think financially that can be a huge problem for a lot of people who have a lot of debt that really don't have at present like and COVID probably added so many variables to this equation.
I think COVID changed the game.
Yeah.
Like I think people post-COVID have drastically changed the way that they look at how money works, how college works, how everything works. Because for a year, everyone did online. Like they did it.
Yeah. Well, do you think, I mean, honestly,
and there's at U of H right now, there's still people now who are taking all online classes.
Yeah.
There's really no purpose.
You're reducing it to like the most fundamental essence of the game theory of college.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the bare bones of what it is. You just do the thing and then you get the thing.
But you're still paying
all
the same price.
Still paying the same price. Yeah.
So I think hopefully the system will crumble and some new system will be in play. But God help the person.
Takes over.
Yeah.
God help the person who has to figure that out. But
I think it also, I mean, depending on the perspective people are looking at it from, I would hope that it kind of opens up the thinking around like less expensive college options, like community colleges.
College makes so much sense. Yeah. I give kudos to anyone who tells me that they went to community college before going to a 4-year.
It's like, damn, you were actually so much smarter than
I'm pretty sure. I think someone told me this at one point, but your GPA resets when you transfer institutions.
I didn't know that.
And so if you have your basics covered,
just the credits transfer, not the
GPA. So, you spend less money, you do what you need to do. It's probably easier. So if you do want to gamify your entire education, you absolutely can. If you don't, I'm sure you can still learn something, right? They give you books. You can read the books. You can do your work.
The thing is,
2 different paths.
The crazy thing is, all these colleges want to talk about like, oh, we're like better because we do. They all teach the same material. They're all using the same textbook.
That's what I was
probably
all
using the same test from the same test bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's all the same.
And in any given city, the community colleges are usually taught by the same professors that are professing at the big universities.
Yeah. Sometimes too, I remember in high school taking a few
like dual
credit classes. A lot of times they're smaller. And so you actually develop like really nice relationships with your professors because they're a little more down to earth and they actually talk to you like they're you're humans and
God, how many college classes did you have with like 300 other students?
Oh,
so crazy.
Man. With grumpy professors who just hated their lives and you could totally tell.
And it's like, this class cost me like $4,000. All good, dude. And
then
the books cost like $1,000. All good.
Yeah.
And it's like a intro to geology class that I just have to take for my course track to graduate.
I'm not like ever going to need any of this information.
And you're in like astronomy because it satisfies like a natural science or something. And you're like, none of this means anything to me.
I had to take intro to theater because it was a fine arts credit for engineering.
Yeah.
I had to direct and film a movie or like a short movie. For what, dude?
Yeah.
So I think the system has to change.
Yeah.
Who knows if it is ever gonna, because it's so monetized and people with money want to continue making money.
Well, it's just like, again, to be super cynical about it, you don't have to be, right? And
I love being cynical, especially with the education system.
I'll think on both sides of the equation. I am not someone who holds like super particularly to their views, right? So again, in the vein of being able to think about things 2 different ways, like if you get into a better college, you have the status of the degree, which gets you the status of the job, which just kind of perpetuates like
it's all about the alumni association affiliated with the college too as well.
In all of the everywhere. Like it's just another representation of like separating yourself from other people. And a lot of times, getting into those larger institutions, like larger name institutions, they're not always like larger in size, is just like, do you have parents who had enough resources to understand like what goes into creating a child that will get accepted into Harvard? Like that, that's not always going to be your own doing. Like some kids are brilliant and they're like, I just do play 5 instruments, speak 12 languages and have a published book by the age of 17. Like some people are like that, but a lot of it is just having parents who are educated, parents who know how to direct your life. And like, not all of us arguably none of us have, you know, parents who were exactly the people we wanted them to be. That's just kind of like the way that life goes, right?
I had parents from Nepal. They don't know how America works.
Yeah. Case in point, right?
I mean, they got you in a harmony, bro. They must know how something works.
All for him to turn out saying words like displacement. Diagnosement.
Yeah.
Diagnosement.
Displacement is a real word.
That is a real word.
Sure is.
I'm sure you've said it before.
Once or twice.
Did you take a physics class?
Several.
Yeah. Too many to not be an engineering major, probably.
Too much about how systems work.
Oh, yeah. Velocity equations and the like.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Memorized all of them, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still constantly surprise me with how much like general math knowledge and equations of things you have, like offhand.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, like, should have been an engineer for real.
Yeah,
absolutely should have.
Arguably, still might be.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
My life's not over, dude.
What you got cooking?
I mean, you just finished up a fucking what was it? A track on data analytics.
Yeah, you finished
a few
that?
months ago.
Yeah. That's awesome. The last time I talked to you was before you were about to do that.
Well, yeah.
And then you did the thing. Cool.
And then I finished it.
Congratulations on doing a thing.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's always fun doing a thing.
Every time we would come home and you'd be like, all right, I'm going to, like, I'd be like, let's watch anime or something. And you're like, I got like class or homework to do. And in my head, I'm like, damn, he's still doing that? Bro, I signed up for like this bullshit. Well, maybe not bullshit, but on a whim, I signed up for like a digital marketing course on some website. And part of their thing was like every day for, I guess, 15 days, they send you an email with like a 15 to 20 minute piece of work, like coursework of some kind for you to look at and do, just to get a feel for if it's like actually something you would be interested in or not. And I haven't opened the first email and it was 5 days ago. Oh, no. And that was free.
Just save all the emails in a folder and like get to them when you get to them.
Next time it's 3 a.m. and I feel like I want to become a digital marketing person, I'll open that folder and I'll get in there.
Yeah. That's cool. Congrats on doing that. That's really cool.
Yeah, congrats,
man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Well done.
I learned a little bit of Python.
Sure did.
A little bit of it.
Python is the language of the hour. Didn't you know?
Yeah, it really is.
Everybody's learning Python.
It's just it's like
it's all encompassing.
Prime choice for data analytics, which is like the hot thing right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did.
Machine learning
seemed okay.
The like
machine learning seems kind of dumb though.
Machine learning seems kind of dumb.
All right, dude. I'll take your word for it.
Somebody can't trust the machine.
The machine is learning. I am.
You can only trust a machine, dude.
Go easy on it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if that's true. You know anything about the singularity?
Oh, for sure. I think about it. I guess I mean machine in like the simple term. Like I trust a calculator more than I trust. Yeah.
More than you trust what?
Like a person doing math in their head.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
unless
from like
that person is me.
Mechanical machines, I should say.
All right, calm down.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know you finished your course, but
I watched A Beautiful Mind, so. You know.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I.M. has ever been wrong when I've asked him to do some math for me in his head.
That's nice.
And I usually do check it.
Okay.
Usually.
That's actually it's always really nice to have a friend like that.
I know, it's great.
It's my fun party trick.
Hey, what's 64 times 120? And they're like, they don't even ask why you need to know.
He never has.
With the answer immediately.
It's so easy to figure out what 20% of anything is when I was a server.
Oh, me too. Now, yeah, it took me a long time to figure out the shortcuts though to that one.
10% times 2.
No, I just do.
You just do the
times
full 20?
the number and then move the decimal 2 spots.
Oh, I don't do either of those. I'm always thinking of it in terms of dollars, so I just divide whatever the number is by 10 and then
multiply
2
by 2.
Essentially.
Yeah. The beauty of math is we all do 3 different things and we come to the same answer.
Well, that's also the beauty of computer science as well.
Yeah.
It's, just problem solving in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Some ways are definitely better.
Oh, and more efficient for sure.
More efficient for sure.
I was really bad at figuring out the most efficient option.
Well, to be fair, like that's
a little more scatterbrained.
Still a concern for a lot of software developers. I mean, it's tough, right? Like you're trying to solve a problem. And so your first order of business is to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And then you clean it up.
And then after that,
a lot of people
you're
will
like,
solve the problem. And
then this takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. Let's
or,
revise.
You solve the problem, but it takes like 100 lines of code.
Yeah.
And then, someone else is like, do you realize that this is just like a built-in function?
And you can just the professor who was teaching that course, his big thing was you need to make the code look pretty.
I
That's
like that.
the most important
Was
thing.
it about Python? Python is like it can be messy with the white space.
Mm-hmm. It was
So you
about
gotta
Python and all the other stuff.
Count the spaces.
This is in the data analytics course? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
I do. Yeah. I like that focus too.
Very like industry minded, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
That's a real like other people are going to be dealing with your code kind of thing.
Yeah. The main focus of the whole course is like to find you a job in the career. So
yeah,
he was
there's
pushing for that.
a lot of discussion around like preference in terms of like code cosmetics. So like the best way something should look or like where to put your white space or whatever. And it's interesting because I work on a big team now and all of them have different preferences. And so, you know, you have to, there's something called a pull request.
Yeah.
Where
I had GitHub. I know.
Yeah. So
I know about GitHub, dude.
Well,
You can look at my repository.
I know what a fork is.
oh my goodness.
You can see some of the projects I worked on.
For those who don't know, a pull request is essentially like before you put your code with the rest of the code, you can have other people look at it and approve it before you potentially break everything by putting your code with everything else. Ideally you don't, but maybe you do. And the idea is to catch anything that might break other things or mistakes or whatever before you put it with your the rest of your code base. You know, it's amazing the things that people have incredibly strong opinions about.
Yeah.
Like where to put your brackets, how much white space do you need, how many, you know,
People are very opinionated.
how many enters you should. Have you ever talked to a software engineer? Like there was one meeting at a client I had that was an hour long. We had it every week. It was a technical roundtable and it was just to talk about the technical problems of the hour at the client. Dead ass. It was an hour about tabs versus white space. Like,
dude, I was
like literal
just about to ask.
Tabs versus spaces.
You're tab or space person, bro.
I think it depends on the language and the like kind of the code editor you're using too, because some don't tolerate
What code editor do you use?
tabs and so again, language dependent.
Fair.
Right now I'm in C# a
I
lot.
don't even know anything about C#.
Yeah, so Visual Studio
Oh.
is like the way.
VS Code is the prettiest because you can customize.
No, not
it.
VS Code, Visual Studio.
Oh.
I do have to say,
those are different. I was also thinking VS Code.
I have to say VS Code is like my preference because it is lighter weight. So Visual Studio is like VS Code like 10x or like your more heavyweight applications. But because it is for heavier, larger applications, like it's a clunkier kind of piece of software. So sometimes it just fucks up and it's like
Photoshop versus Paint.
Frustration eternal. Yeah, well, I know Photoshop in case.
Okay.
I have a computer science degree.
Do you know Paint?
No.
They
didn't teach us that in computer science. Sometimes I'll do like if I have to send a screenshot to someone, I'll like put together some, and I'm trying to just like point something out. Like I'll just do a super tacky snip and like in Paint just do like a gross little the grossest, most like pixelated circle of whatever it is I'm trying to point out and just send it to them that way. But no, I do like VS Code. VS Code is super aesthetic and like so easy to use, right? And so I think if you're, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't call myself like just getting into coding. I still prefer it, but I was gonna say if you're like just getting into it, then I would say that that's a really easy. I mean, it looks nice.
It does, and
easy
you can customize like the different colors and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So based on all of that stuff that you just said, am I correct in assuming that your preferred work environment takes place inside of a Windows machine?
Yeah, I've never used a Mac
ever
to develop.
Oh, okay.
I in college, so I've always had PCs, which might be a bias. In college, I just remember all the kids who had like MacBooks and Mac family computers had the worst time, like getting their parallels set up and like trying to find proper versions of installations and such. And like, I feel like, you know, maybe it's gotten better since then. And in the professional world, it might be different, but I don't know. I know my way around a Windows computer very well. And so it's just like,
most people teach
actually like
the shortcuts on Windows, and some like Apple doesn't have the shortcuts because they're different.
Yeah. And then sometimes like the way you use an application is different on a Mac, or, you know, different things come up. I do actually have a MacBook Air. Ooh. I do. It's a personal computer. I don't use it for like technical pastime.
Okay.
But it's easy to use, right? It's nice.
Sure.
It connects to your phone.
Yeah.
Which is the greatest thing.
That is, it's actually the biggest reason that I've been a Mac user for so long.
like the reason for a lot of people is it's really nice to be able to sync your devices.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, sometimes it goes against you, right? Like,
Sure.
you know, so
Many
you can
times.
become incriminated very quickly
Yeah.
based on the transference and the speed from your phone to your laptop. But
Yeah.
but to answer your question, I do
Okay.
prefer a PC for work. With the qualification, I've never really tried
Okay.
anything else.
Have you ever had the just inclination to play around with anything Linux?
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of development. Like a lot of VMs are Linux based.
Mm-hmm. Virtual machines for people who don't
Yes, yeah. I'm just
don't know.
using
Don't
lingo.
look at me like that.
That's
I knew what it was.
So for people who don't know what a virtual machine is, very quickly, imagine you have a MacBook at home and it is running Mac software, obviously, but you have a program you need to run that only runs on Windows. There's no Mac version. So what you would do is, I mean, to not be technical, you just basically get an app that is pretending to be a computer, and then you install Windows on that app, and the Windows operating system thinks it's on a regular PC computer, and then you can run Windows inside of a separate app on your Mac. Is that a fair description, would y'all say?
For Linux?
Well, just in general, for
like
what
a
a VM
virtual-
is.
Oh, yeah. That's
Like
fair. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'd agree with that. Although a VM doesn't technically have to be like a Windows machine.
Yeah, definitely not. It
You
could be
have a
anything.
Linux VM. But yeah, basically a means of accessing a system that's on a different OS
Mhm.
from like your native operating system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like a lot of things you use in industry, I'm trying to be very general, are
Linux based.
maybe Linux leaning.
Sure.
So like
That's generally what I've heard.
a lot of build agents, if that means anything to you.
Sure doesn't.
Lovely.
Not even
Are
to me
going to
either.
be,
But I'm just going to pretend like I know.
Linux.
I can
It's not.
probably guess what it's. It's fine.
some aren't, right? But a lot of them are. So if you have software, you, and you're a company, right? You have a software product, and you make changes to it. Sometimes it'll go through something called a pipeline. And there are a ton of different things that can happen in a pipeline. But maybe the easiest way to explain it is you're performing like sequential actions on your code. So a lot of times like you'll run tests or maybe certain kind of security scans, but it's automated. That's that's like what the idea behind it is. You can define a set of steps and then you can automate the process of, say you merge a PR into your code base, but you need to deploy it, or maybe you need to run additional testing on it, whatever. You'll set it up such that it automatically goes through a pipeline and maybe it'll run additional tests. Like it depends on your setup, but you can do a set of automated tasks, and a lot of times they'll throw those into Linux machines just based on efficiency or the way that your chosen kind of third party, like I'm just catching myself because it doesn't necessarily have to be a third party, but
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever thought about being like a professor?
a professor?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I think you'd be pretty good at it.
I'd have to go back to school. I don't
Yeah, that's
really
true.
want to do that.
That's fair. You're just
Fair
really good at
point.
explaining things.
Anyway, yeah, so things like that where you have to have some kind of task performed.
And you have a good microphone voice.
Thank you. Did any of your professors use microphones?
Yeah.
Really?
The ones that had 300 students in the class.
Oh yeah, that's true. I just maybe I forgot,
Yeah.
but
It's Ben.
yeah, that was
Oh,
an
hey, Ben.
interesting sensation. But yeah, couldn't call to mind at first classes where my professor.
Ben is a
used
podcast
microphones.
hero. He likes to show up every now and then, and
Yeah. Steal the limelight.
yeah.
Good old Ben
He's
woke
a-
up from his third 4-hour nap of the day, and
He's the star of the show.
Yeah.
After all,
he usually is.
the laundry room bandit.
Mm-hmm. He usually is. Come up here, rub his face on some stuff,
Usually shoes.
flop around. Yeah.
He's a cool cat.
He's really cool.
Yeah, he's
One of the
pretty
coolest.
sweet.
We've been blessed with Ben.
Oh yeah.
And April. April is actually arguably,
She's so shy though.
She
I tried
is.
to pet her and she wasn't
But
having it.
once she warms up to you, it's a whole different story.
Nice.
Thanks to I am.
Yeah, she
Gotta
becomes
earn it.
obsessive.
I am really rehabilitated
That's what I do
April.
to people.
She was,
What good managers do.
Yeah.
it's what good people do.
Would you call I am good at his job?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
100%.
Okay.
I am is the best manager I have had.
Very careful word choice here.
Well, I'm trying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It is a very specific thing I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
I have had the real privilege of working with and like under some truly gifted leaders in my time.
Yeah.
One of those people is the general manager at our restaurant right now, and I think she is the best leader I've ever worked with in my life. And within that context, I still would also say Iam is probably the best manager that we've had, but in a different way, right? Because Iam came from the server team, and has been at the restaurant for what, 5 years? And so obviously well, Ben's really going for it today. Yeah. Don't jump on that, Ben. So the perspective that Iam brings into a management position at the restaurant is certainly a change of pace from everyone else we've had in a management position there. And his ability to, like, how would you say this? Really like manage from within the otherwise like peer group of servers and bartenders and everybody else who works at the restaurant who's not in management is very interesting and has been a constant learning experience for me, because I don't think I've ever been in another place personally where somebody has gone from like the group of managed people directly into a management position and it hasn't gone poorly.
Yeah.
And Iam has executed it with really more grace and capability than I honestly ever would have expected.
All of this without speaking English, too.
Yeah, which is the crazy part. And that's why I was saying he's smarter than he acts, because I think he speaks English incorrectly on purpose sometimes to make the servers more comfortable with him. You know what I'm saying?
It's all about being comfortable.
Because they also all are not very good at English. Because they're all 20. You know?
Yeah, some extreme psychological tooling there.
My big thing is psychological warfare.
Yeah, it really is.
And the funny thing is no one knows, except for really Sean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even I don't fully know.
That's because we speak to each other on a different dimension.
I can barely handle speaking to you twice a year.
Yeah, it's tough, dude.
Yeah, it is tough.
The funny thing about Iam is the more you speak to him, the less is spoken. If that makes sense.
That does make sense. Is that not most people?
Well, I guess so. Well, okay. All right, yeah, it's everyone. You're right. I'm just a normal guy.
I mean, my roommate and I are the same. Well, I don't know. We'll like go days without talking and then talk for like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the way that we do. She's also a server, and so her hours are crazy, and I work like a very traditional, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever job. And so sometimes
completely offset schedules.
Yeah.
The last roommate I had was the same way. I was a server and he had his traditional like 8 to 5, and I would go like weeks actually without even seeing him.
Yeah.
Because she gets up pretty late because she's up late.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to get up to work. And so maybe I'll see her like middle of the day. Maybe also I won't.
Yeah. By the time you get home, she's at work. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just like rinse and repeat. So I don't know. It works. It works well, but kind of to your point, like sometimes we really don't say anything at all for like a long time. And she's like one of my best friends. So
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that makes sense to me. That rings close to home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Iam and I also, I mean, when we first moved in here, I was in constant shock at how much we had to say to each other all the time.
That's why we decided to end up doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we would be at work all day and be talking the entire time to each other. And then we would come home and like watch something together or do this and make a podcast or whatever it is we were doing and still be talking the whole time.
That's awesome though. Like I have I have a lot to say and I've met very few people that I can just talk and talk and talk to. Cause I think with like everyone has a threshold for most of the people in their lives. And if you can find someone like that you don't have a threshold with, like that's amazing. And like maybe it settles down, right? Like you kind of
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah,
find that person, and you say
has.
so many things. And I'm like, you're like, oh, you'll continue being in my life. It's all good.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to talk as much all the time.
You reach like a homeostasis.
Yeah, but you still know, like this person. I think it's about the ability, right? You have found this person that you have the ability to talk to, like on so many levels, and that's, I think, like the really key thing is like, okay, I don't necessarily have to talk to this person for hours on end, but I know that I can, and I know that like they'll be receptive to it, because it's always good to feel heard.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So important. So important.
I'm usually good at that.
You're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Unless you have a text to get to. Then it can be a little troublesome, but that's neither here nor there,
God,
dude.
how many times have you started saying something and I'm like, what?
Oh, I mean, just about every time.
What's that? Sometimes
multitasking's hard, dude.
actually I think with Ian and I, a lot of times it's the reverse, and then he'll just think for another second about what it is that he said and then just abort the mission. On second thought, I'm not gonna say that.
I mean, my biggest flaw has always been saying almost the first thing that comes to mind, unapologetically usually. But I'm learning.
And then you get apologetic the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you can say it's your biggest flaw, and in certain circumstances, I will certainly agree with you. But it is also one of your greatest assets because it lands you like way more often than it should. It serves you rather than harms you.
Yeah.
Or rather than harms you, which is also, again, constantly surprising me, but always impressing me.
Just like the effortless charisma that like really should not turn out as net positive.
Just says things that with no doubt should be seriously troublesome. Yeah. And it just slides. It doesn't even slide, it flies, and everybody loves it. And I'm like, you're a manager right now, dude. We're at work.
For instance, what happened earlier?
Here?
No. I didn't want to say it just in case there were people listening who would be adjacent to the scenario.
Oh.
But your choice.
Oh, you can always say it.
Your choice of asking someone out.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe would have been sexual harassment.
Yeah, for sure.
Other cases.
For sure.
For it's a joke.
Yeah. That is also a day at Tiny's, though. For better or for worse.
I remember last summer we went for coffee.
Yeah, we grabbed ice cream at Milk and Cookies.
Yeah. Is that like right next door?
Yeah.
I don't know the scenario. Okay, but I don't remember what was said, but like some heinous comments were made.
Sure.
Oh, to Haji?
In both directions.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, y'all work together.
Yeah.
Is this normal? Is this okay?
It's almost so like it's undescribable what goes on it. Like you can't put into words the environment that I've cultivated at Tiny's.
Yeah.
The empire that I have built.
Yeah.
Truly though.
I mean, I like to say that it's just an open, free space where people can be themselves, and you're free to do almost anything you want.
And to others, it's an HR risk.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But that's just the environment I think people thrive in. So
well, you just gotta learn to adapt. That's the kind of environment where leaders are born.
Yeah, I mean, adaptation has been my biggest thing as well. I mean, moving around so many times and meeting so many different people with different culture, you just gotta adapt, dude.
Yeah.
Like the scenario that you're in is the scenario you're in.
Just get over it.
You just have to figure it out. You just gotta
the best life advice. Life advice with Liam. Episode 1.
Yeah.
It's different
Get over it.
There's different layers to it, and we can get into the nuance of it.
Episode 2.
But I don't want to get into the nuance of it. It's too much talking.
I mean, sometimes getting into the nuance of it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm supposed to tell you everything I've done to be successful for you too.
If I tell you every little thing to do to adapt to it, are you adapting?
Yeah, you're just copying.
You got to figure it out. You gotta build that adaptation muscle.
What helped one person adapt to may not be, and oftentimes is not what's going to help the next person either.
Definitely true. Especially.
So keep those secrets, folks.
That's right. Yeah. Build those silos.
Oh yeah. keep those bottles locked.
That's right, dude. Keep it all to yourself.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, y'all, I think it's about that time.
Oh, you think an hour and 40 minutes is sufficient?
Well, if I had my way,
we could go
Liz, this would be a 3-hour podcast.
Years.
Yeah.
Just one long podcast forever.
That is the dream. I mean, Joe Rogan can do 3 hours. Why can't we?
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, y'all.
Dude, thank you for being on.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
This has been so much better than I ever thought it could have been, Liz.
Well, I'm not funny, and I'm not interesting.
Oh, you're so wrong. This is arguably the most... I mean, I don't remember most of the episodes we've done, but I would put this in the league of the most... This is going on the most interesting episodes playlist for me.
I warned you.
I did. I told you she was neither.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
But I got the... it's all there. Anyway, Liz, if you'd ever be interested in coming back on, maybe in a year or two when you're back in Houston, we would love to have you.
Absolutely.
Until then, thanks for listening, guys. And we'll catch you next week.
Peace.